Hi there, I'm Stacy, and I coach introverted professionals who are ready to grow their confidence, influence, and leadership without pretending to be someone they're not. Last week, we talked about relational visibility, how to build credibility through trust and intentional conversations. And this week, we're exploring the third and final visibility channel in this series, verbal visibility. Now, if the words verbal visibility make you want to shrink back a little, stay with me, please. I'm not going to suggest that you talk constantly or even close to it, or even try to be the loudest voice in a room. When I talk about verbal visibility, I mean finding ways to speak up with clarity and timing in moments that matter. It's how you use your voice to shape direction, not simply participate. Let's walk through 3 practical ways you can practice verbal visibility this week that align with this philosophy. Strategy 1 is to open a meeting with a framing question. Most people jump right into content in a meeting, but when you ask a clear, intentional question at the beginning, you shape how people enter the conversation. It might sound like, "What would a successful outcome look like today?" Or, "What decision do we want to walk away with by the end of this meeting?" These aren't hard to ask, but they make a big impact. They position you as someone who thinks strategically, who creates alignment, and who brings purpose into the room. For introverts, this works because you're often great at scanning the big picture and naming what's really going on. A good framing question lets you lead from that strength. Strategy 2 is to share a pattern you've observed across projects. Introverts are natural observers. You notice trends and connections that others might miss. Use that to your advantage. You might say something like, "I'm seeing a theme across our last few initiatives. Each one struggled with stakeholder buy-in at the midpoint." Or, "One thing I've noticed is that we've been defaulting to reactive fixes instead of carving out time for root cause thinking." Sharing a pattern like this does a few things. It signals strategic thinking. It builds your reputation as someone who's tuned in. And it helps move conversations beyond surface level updates into more thoughtful insight. You don't have to speak often to be memorable, like I said when we started. You just have to speak with weight. And now strategy 3, volunteer to close out a meeting with a summary or insight. If you're not ready to jump in at the start, which I totally understand, own the end. Offer a summary of what you heard, a key insight that stood out, or a next step you want to reinforce. You could say something like, "Just to recap what I'm hearing, it sounds like we've agreed on X, still need alignment on Y, and we'll revisit Z next week." Or, "One theme I'm hearing is the tension between speed and depth. Might be worth naming that explicitly." This positions you as someone who listens carefully, makes meaning out of information, and leaves people with clarity. These are fundamental leadership skills, and you've got them. So, why do these strategies work so well for introverts? Because they don't ask you to compete for airtime. They ask you to contribute intentionally. You're not wasting words, which is a strength. You're drawing from your natural tendency to reflect, observe, and add meaning. And when you speak in this way, people associate your voice with value, not noise. As I started doing last week, at the end of every episode here, I'm going to give you an introvert power practice, a practical way you can apply your takeaways from our time together. Here it is for this week. Pick one meeting coming up. Decide, will you open it with a question, name a meaningful pattern, or close it with a takeaway? Plan the moment. Prepare a sentence or two in advance, then show up and practice using your voice in a way that feels true to you. I've put these prompts in the show notes below, where you'll also find links to other leadership tools I've created specifically for introverted professionals. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video if it helped you reframe what verbal visibility can look like, and comment below. Which of the 3 strategies are you going to try first? I'll see you next time.